thoughtful ideas, suggestions for guests and topics.
Great events, programs, and
Welcome to this week's segment of Dialogue Houston. I'm your host, Lawrence Payne. To our regular viewing audience, welcome. To those joining us perhaps for the first time here for HCC's TV Dialogue Houston, we're here now every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m. and again at 6 p.m. and Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. Always in the top of the hour, let me thank you very much for your calls, emails, and text messages concerning previous shows we've aired here on HCC's TV Dialogue Houston, where after all, this is your community affairs, public affairs show, now proudly in its 27th season. You've given me some great ideas on topics and guests to be covered in upcoming segments, which we're going to honor. We're also doing our ongoing kind of deep dive into such a time as this in the post-George Floyd reality in which we're all living. Of course, in that environment, in the bigger bubble is the COVID-19 issues. So we're going to pursue all of these things as we go forward in the weeks to come, and we continue to thank you for watching and being part of the programming. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to look at a couple aspects. One, this is National Black Business Month. So I have a great guest in a moment I'm going to introduce that we're going to talk about Black business and what it takes to be an entrepreneur and to be a Black business person and to survive in this crazy, wonderful world of COVID-19, this extra special gift that we've been given to figure out how to cope. That's kind of a way to look at it, isn't it? And the second part of the show is always, as you know, our great partners and friends at the Houston Public Library, which we're going to touch on some aspects of the great work they do, both as a special guest of the Office of Business Opportunity that the library is bringing on board, and also, of course, looking at the great work, the great, wonderful work that the African American Library at the Gregory School does year after year, time after time. But to start off this show, we're going to talk with our good friend, Kiley Summers. Kiley Summers is the founder, president, and CEO of a company called SpenDebt, and I love their little twist on things. Spin your way out of debt. Now, listen to what I just said. Spin, as in spend money. Spin your way out of debt. And anybody can do that, they're doing something really great. So, Kiley, welcome. So great to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Larry. It's always good to be in your presence and to hear your voice. And I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Well, you have such a great story to tell as an entrepreneur, as a person who started their business in 2016, January 2016. You're an engineer by trade, worked for many of the Fortune 500 companies, and decided, hey, I can do this, and I can do this better than they're doing it. And so here I go. So tell me all about SpenDebt.
SpenDebt is a financial technology company, and we are on a mission to help save 1 million families from financial fatalities. And we do that using our application, right? You can find our application in the iOS App Store, the Google Play Store, but essentially it's designed to assist people to pay off debt, leveraging micropayments through everyday transactions. So assuming you came to our platform, Larry, you created a profile, you link the bank account you want to pay from. So if I have a Bank of America checking account, I will link it. Then we ask you to define the micropayment, and then you tell us the debt account you want to pay. And after that, you begin spending. So let's say you buy your favorite cup of coffee at Starbucks, it says $5. You define your micropayment to be $1. Automatically, that $1 is added to that transaction. $5 will go to Starbucks, $1 will go towards the consumer debt of your choice. That is really how SpenDebt works. And that's in a nutshell how we help to save 1 million families.
But it's such a clean, simple concept. And it allows people to pay off their debts without even realizing they're doing so, right?
Yeah,
just doing your normal purchases that you would do on a daily, weekly basis. And I love that the other kind of that tagline that I pulled from your one micro payment at a time. So this is not a burden. It is not brain surgery. It is not something extra. It is not a thing you have to think about. Just one micro payment at a time. So I think people who are so used to being in debt and financial services and all the heaviness and technology and technical stuff that goes with it, this is about as simple as you can get, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's how we think about it, right? And I love the way you hit it, leveraging one micropayment at a time, because you think about, how we eat. If I was to ask, how do you eat an elephant? What would you say? It's one bite at a time. You can't swallow an elephant whole, right? And unfortunately, we've accumulated debt, but we didn't get in debt overnight. And so it's going to take a little time to work our way out of that hole. But the most important thing is to be consistent. Our platform is automated. It allows people to be consistent, and it allows you to do it in a way that you don't have to change your habit. And that's the most important thing. We need to nudge ourselves in just, paralleling paying off debt with how we spend money, and we can be more focused, and it can help create momentum and to get to their small wins. We have helped people to date pay off student loans, credit cards, auto loans, dentist bills. We've averaged nearly $80 per month per customer paying towards their consumer debt. So we're definitely having an impact with the consumers that we serve today.
How has COVID-19 affected the business and people's perception of looking at debt? I guess the word here is, how have you been able to pivot? It's all about pivoting in this environment to make things kind of equal out in this reality we're in now.
It impacted us, right? But more importantly, the customers and the market that we want to go after. Right now, we're set up as a business to consumer model, right? We are, going direct to consumer, right? But when you look at the greater, the macro, if you will, we are just in the middle of COVID-19, right? The impacts have not been felt, right? And what they will be, we see Congress, or they're talking about this next stimulus check. People are still living off the stimulus check or the unemployment, right? But when that runs out, people will, be faced with, large amounts of debt or bills. And so our strategy is now to pivot and go more towards a B2B2C model, and really supporting these businesses and leveraging our platform as a payment aggregator for the customers, right? And so we want to be able to help you pay your light bill, or your gas bill, or your cell phone bill, your telecommunications. So really looking at aspects to really serve people in the ways that they need to be served for the things that they need to live every day.
And that's important, because a lot of people in this environment are about to have all that cut off, electricity, and so if you can figure out a way to help them through their normal purchases, keep that going and keep that alive for them, that's a viable service in this kind of time that we're in. And that is one, I think, that as you talked about your platform and people being aware of the platform, obviously getting the word out that not only you exist, but how simple the platform works. It seems to me COVID would actually lend itself having more people sign up with you in the middle of this kind of pandemic, because it helps them keep those basic necessities alive that they have to have.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how we think about it, Larry. And at the end of the day, we know it's tough for people, but if they can show that they can pay something towards their utility bill, right, they have an opportunity to keep the lights on, or to keep the gas going, or to keep the AC running, or to keep that cell phone on. Everybody is working from home, and we want to be able to serve people in that way. And we haven't seen in this time that our customers have stopped spending. We've been continuing to average the $80 a month, so it hasn't necessarily been a reduction. But we don't know what the future may hold, but we want to position ourselves to support more families in the midst of the pandemic and the aftermath. So
you're a Liftoff winner of the City of Houston's business plan competition, Liftoff, along with the Houston Public Library, the Office of Business Opportunity, the Mayor's Office of Capital One, and other great sponsors. And you won. So tell us how that Liftoff experience actually helped get this off the ground, because when you told your story the other day, it was a very compelling one, and I wanted you to repeat it again here.
I would say this: the Liftoff business plan competition was a true blessing to me and my family, and that was the original money in the first competition that I won, that they gave me the access to capital that I needed, and not just access to capital. They gave me access to resources. They helped me develop a business plan, helped me structure the pitch, connected me with other resources such as the Houston Public Library, right, which was so important for a new entrepreneur who didn't necessarily know how to start a business, but the resources that the competition provided, the capital that it provided in winning the competition, and then the extended relationships thereafter. So I think it helped me solidify and harden the foundation that allowed me to be here on this call with you today. And we're forever grateful for the city of Houston, Liftoff Business Plan Competition, the Houston Public Library, and all the other funders and sponsors.
So since you have a product that is just begging to go national, I know you had some involvement with the Black Enterprise Magazine Foundation, that competition they did. How did that go, and what did that kind of lead to?
It gave us exposure. So I think it was a few years ago now, back in 2017, I believe, we got opportunity to be a Black Enterprise called the Tech Connect Demo Day, and it was out in Silicon Valley. So we got opportunity to go out to California, my first time in San Francisco, and we got to get on a national platform, a national stage, and it was an opportunity to meet other founders from across the world and across the country. But it gave us exposure. We also had an article interview that was in the BET.com on the web, and so it just really gave awareness to what we were doing, but also it gave us opportunity to tell our story. So we're still connected with some of the folks that we got a chance to meet, and it's always good to get that exposure. I like to tell people that exposure expands your expectations. Exposure expands your expectations, and that exposure definitely did it for us.
And a little touch, if I remember correctly, a little touch with the Shark Tank people, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Brandon Andrews was the guy that actually interviewed me with the BET Black Enterprise, and he is also a casting partner for Shark Tank, and I got a chance to audition for Shark Tank 3 times, Larry. But on the 3rd time, believe it or not, I went in before I can even pitch my product. They said, "Sorry, Kiley, we have just selected a company just like yours to be in this next season for season 9." And so I was disappointed. But here's the rainbow in it all. The company that selected, they were featured on season 9, episode 20, segment 3. They got a deal from Mark Cuban, my favorite investor on the show, and they got an investment of $250,000 for 25% of their company. And so the beauty in it is it helped validate what we were doing, and it helped give exposure to the type of product that we were creating. But it also gave us opportunity to see what they were doing, and then be able to respond to some of the viewers after reading some of the reviews of the people using their product. So it just really brought life to what we were doing, and also being disappointed in not being selected, but we also learned from their experience being on that national stage.
Well, and that's a great way to look at it. And I brought it up because I kind of remember you talking to me a little bit about that before. That perspective of learning from them, through them, and their experience, and being able to utilize that in your own business, and to pivot a little bit. I love that word pivot in business, because that's really what you got to do almost every day. And figure out how to tweak what they did right, that they did wrong, learn from, use it as to your advantage, can only position you better going forward. Because some of those things you won't have to go through now because you already have seen them and what happens. And I do think that when I mentioned your company after we did the interview the other day with the Liftoff competition kickoff, that it needs to get out more, because people, when I mentioned it to them, said, yes, they'll tell me about it. So I sent them to your website, yada, yada, yada. But it's the simpleness of how it works to help people who have trouble managing their money to not overthink what to do and how to do it. Once they sign up and once they're on the platform, as you explained it to me, the rest of it basically takes care of itself, does it not?
You're absolutely right. It is a set it and forget it platform. Once you do those 3 easy steps, link the bank account you want to pay from, tell us the debt account you want to pay, and define the micropayment. And that's it. We do all the heavy lifting for you. It is an automated process. We make on-time payment for you. We even have a dashboard so you can even view how well you have been doing towards paying off your consumer debt. And we can pay any consumer debt, Larry. Well, I don't care if it's a student loan, a credit card, or auto loan, or gas bill, light bill. we can pay anything. And if you're listening out there today and you need help, support, you're just trying to get rid of those nagging bills, sign one of those bills up with us and allow us to help you achieve your financial freedom.
So let me put it in the plain terms as somebody asked me. Does this get the creditors off their back?
If you got that one creditor that's calling you every day, you'll start making consistent payments with SpenDebt. Absolutely, Larry.
If you set up a system through them that gets them off your back.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Creditors, the only thing they call for, they want the money.
That's right. They're getting money. As long as they're getting money, they don't care where and how they're getting it, as long as they're getting money. Because I think the burden that some people are experiencing now with the endless phone calls and the endless people calling them and the endless mailing, and now that they call all kinds of day and night and all kinds of tricky numbers, all kinds of area code numbers, yada, yada, yada. I think on top of COVID is just driving some people absolutely bananas. And so if there's a way to lessen some stress around this idea of payment and bills and et cetera, whether you can or cannot afford it, it's still the stress that goes with it. Yeah, and if you're able to alleviate that, that's a great plus. We have a fascinating conversation with our guest this week who is looking at and runs a product, Kiley Summers, called SpenDebt, which has made it so easy for you to pay off your debts. So easy to spend money and still pay off your debts. So easy to do a micro payment at a time and pay off your debts. But it's been a lot of good work, dedication, and commitment on his part to make it happen. He's been successful because he's really worked hard at it. And the formula is one that I think can be replicated in the smart entrepreneur category, under the smart entrepreneur category. I wanted to talk a little bit about now, what does it take to have to get a loan? And the loan world is fraught with all kinds of challenges. He's been able to navigate that and to understand the pros and cons of what to do and what not to do. But I just wanted him to share a little bit of his understanding of how that works. So welcome back, Kiley.
Thanks, Larry. Again, what I would tell you is, let me set the record straight. I have not gotten a loan. However, I prepare, my company to be loan ready.
Right.
So what that looks like is, getting the history of your financials in order, getting the resume, getting all the critical business documents in place. So in the event that we want to go get funding, we can go back and try to get funding. But the realness of it is you can go do all of these great things, but the bank appetite for your particular business or your particular industry, they may not be able to fund it because it's too risky, or they don't have the necessary rules and regulations to govern your type of product, your type of business. I've seen that over and over again. And so you may have to go outside of the traditional lending institutions to achieve or to have access to capital. And what I would share with you quickly is we was able to do that. We've been able to research those business plan competitions. As we hear the Liftoff Houston business plan competition application deadline is August 10th. I would encourage everyone to apply. It don't make a difference where you are in the starting of the business. Apply. Whether you have a product business, service business, or an innovative idea. But not only just looking at that one business plan competition, there's a lot of grant opportunities that give access to capital that would assist you along the way. So I know it's easy to go straight to a bank because they always advertise and they market to you and they try to draw you in. But the reality is they have so many regulations in place and they can't support most businesses or all businesses in that vein and to give you that loan of that you may be looking for. So think about all the other avenues and channels for access to capital, and not just the traditional bank.
So since this is National Black Business Month, what have you been hearing and reading, particularly how COVID has affected Black businesses and the rate, unfortunately, of failure and closure of a lot of Black businesses, and those who have survived and those who are figuring out how to survive? What are some of the salient points that you have kind of seen across the board that they're all having to do in this environment that we find ourselves?
It's that P word. It's the pivot, right? They have to pivot. If you make, if you're making T-shirts as an example, begin to make masks, right? The government agencies, state, local, federal, they've been looking for different. They put out different contracts, or they're looking for masks. Find a way to pivot your business to gain access to those type of contracts, or just sell decorative masks on your website. If you in the business where you can pivot and make hand sanitizer, do that. These are quick and easy wins that you can do, that you can make in order to achieve the revenue that you may be looking for. Additionally, figure out if you're in a restaurant business. We've seen a lot of carry out begin to happen, and I think most of the restaurants have done a wonderful job. Right, some were caught by surprises, Larry, in the sense that operationally they had to create the online experience, being able to take orders online. It's really been able to leverage technology at this point in order to support and undergird the business, because unfortunately that is the next frontier is technology, even when it comes to schooling. And just leveraging social media. People have gained a lot of followings, been able to teach their expertise and skill set. So all of these things are ingredients to survive the COVID-19 for small businesses in this phase of life.
You're in the financial services business. So as we look in the future in the crystal ball, what's the next big thing coming down the pipe in the financial services arena that you can kind of foresee coming?
Well, I think banking is changing. Banking is changing. I haven't got the full view of kind of the new rules are coming out, but as I'm hearing, banking will be able to invest into companies like they haven't been able to invest in before, right? I'm sure it's going to be rules and regulations in place to govern it, but banking is changing. If you think about today, these all financial technology companies are generating enough cash and sitting on enough cash where they are becoming banks themselves. So the traditional banking service business is changing. So when I think about financial services or financial technology, is we are the next frontier. We are changing how money moves, whether that's going from peer to peer, peer to businesses, or what have you. That landscape is changing, and so people want more transparency. They want trust. They want less fees, and they want to be able to have access to their money 24/7. And case in point, I was in Kroger the other day. They made an announcement over the intercom. If you're paying with cash, we are not giving change back because there is a national shortage of change. So what does that mean? That means that electronic transfers will become the norm and cash or coins will soon go away. And so that's my opinion, humble opinion. But I think the writing is on the wall, and I think we should, become more comfortable in using technology and using applications, because that will be the way of the future.
It's funny you mention that, because the lady after church services on Sunday said the same thing. She went to pay something and they didn't have any coins or didn't want to give her any coin change. So they rounded everything off. So she lost money. And it needed to be paid, so she had to pay it. Didn't get any money back, any change back. Didn't have a check. They didn't take checks. So it's what's going to happen is they're going to gently, using that word on purpose, force you to comply with the new rules and regulations about financial transactions, everything electronic. That's fine for people who have that ability, but we have a whole population that is unbanked, that does not have a financial home, does not do banking. They do payday loans. They do cash transactions. They cash their check at a loan shark who takes a hunk of it percentage-wise out of the check to cash it. So you're going to end up penalizing those who are already penalized the most in our new world of financial transactions. I think, to your point, when we start passing the rules and regulations that will apply to the banks of how they do business going forward, we have to pass another set of policy rules and regulations about helping those who do not have the ability to have, quote unquote, a relationship with a bank or a checking account or savings account. And I think that's going to be a whole nother world for us to navigate, where I see entrepreneurs like yourself and others. There's going to be a niche. There's going to be a gap, an opening. And every time I've seen a gap or opening, entrepreneurs step in and fill the gap somehow. So I think in your services, that may be something even you can expand to, because it's going to be there. There's going to be that gap. And those people already need a place to go, and they have no place to go now. It's only going to get worse. So the world of entrepreneurship going forward, and we'll close on this point, really is open, as it always has been, only left to your imagination and the thoughtfulness you give into it for the services you're trying to provide.
Agreed, 100%.
So where we go with this is, well, you got a plan, you got to start somewhere, and you got a business plan. So the Liftoff competition deadline is August 10th. So here's a chance for you to get in on it. Simple, liftoffhouston.sm, as in Sam Mary, apply.org. And we want you all to at least avail yourselves of the services. It's a great orientation that goes with it, great training, great input. And it's one of those things that I think everybody is going to need a little entrepreneurship in their lives going forward, to be creative in this changing environment. And so, Kiley, I thank you for being on top of this curve and being one of the leaders in this curve. We'll continue to follow you in your great work. But before we go, of course, let's give your website. Where can we find you and SpenDebt?
You can find me, Kiley Summers, on LinkedIn or Facebook. But more importantly, you can find SpenDebt at SpenDebt.com. That's SpenDebt.com. You can also find us in the App Store, iOS and Google Play Store. Please follow us. We'd love to engage with you and hope our product could leverage and help and support you and or your family. Thank you, Larry, again for having me.
Oh, Kiley, thank you very much for being on this segment of Dialogue Houston. We'll follow all of this as we go forward. All right, some closing comments and words before we have to leave for this week. I think as we look at the post-George Floyd environment that we're in reality, the 5 basic needs of human beings come out more and more every day. And I think we have to realize that depending on where you sit and where you stand before where you stood before COVID-19 and where you are now, it's really a cross-section of individuals who are suffering at different levels and different ends of the spectrum. You know, the psychological needs for basic food, water, and shelter are becoming really, really paramount for a large segment of our society. And Congress is needing to do more to stimulate that and to help people afford just the basic needs. I think safety and security needs are beginning to again be paramount, with people being put on the street and being evicted from their apartments potentially, and being homeless. And that sense of home and the sense of security that gives you is about to go away for many people. The sense of belonging and the sense of love, relationships, friendships, the psychological needs, those are all in stress now. And because we have such a great mental health crisis going on at the same time, of people not being able to socialize, be around people for that moral and nurturing, supported undergirding. And then of course, esteem needs then start wailing. People start feeling less accomplished, less able to take care of their own, less able to feel confident and good about themselves. And so that starts working on their psyche also. And then of course, those who really thrive to be creative and innovative from a self-actualization standpoint during this kind of environment begin to question many times their worth, their understanding of what they can give and contribute and how to do that. So when you have all these areas of one's lives as a human being going on and being challenged and questioned at the same time, that only says this: we need each other more. We need to support each other more. We're all in this together. We're all going to survive this together. But we really have to understand that this is a time to really, really think about who is my neighbor, how do I help and serve my neighbor, and how do we all understand that to get through this middle passage of COVID-19, of even all the other issues we're dealing with, we're kind of in this funnel that we're going through the middle now. There is hope on the other side, but we all need to work with each other to get there and to understand what we can do. So until I see you, as always, the next time around, be safe, be well, take care of each other, love each other, and until then, as always, peace, power, and love.